I am grateful for the opportunity to give some opening remarks. I prepared them because I know we have a lot to cover today, and I wanted to be as efficient as possible with the time I have. I have so much to say. I want to thank you so much for all of your hard work and the ability I've had to be a candidate thanks to you. I remember during all those times that I spoke at the state committee meetings and how nervous I would get because I was talking to the most hardworking and the most faithful of the party. And I remember a time in 2010, as a matter of fact, when Bill Rowe gave me some feedback about one of my first speeches and told me I was a little amateurish. And I remember that well, and I was. And I hope that I've had lots of practice over the last 5 years to do what I need to do to communicate, and God bless you for being so patient with me. And now again, I'm still a little nervous because I am still speaking to a room of people that I love and admire, and that there is a difference. We've been through 2 campaigns, and I know that you love me, and I know how much I love each and every one of you. And that's important to me. It's all that really matters at the end. And that you have stood and worked so tirelessly for all of the candidates. And so, please let me tell you from the bottom of my heart how much I want to thank you for your hard work, for your tireless energy, and your financial support and prayers for the campaigns that I've been in. And like my statewide campaign candidates and colleagues, I didn't win. We didn't win. And there's a lot of lessons to learn from the 2014 cycle. We were outspent, first and foremost. We were outnumbered, as we all know. We were outmaneuvered and we were out-strategized. But I'm here to tell you that the Democratic Party was more organized than I've ever seen them. And our field offices and our field volunteers and our field workers faced every day that apathy and that anger that then came to the polls. We just didn't know how negative the ads were going to be and how that would impact this election. So I'm here to ask you to stand with me and to not give up and not abandon our purpose and our mission as Arizona Democrats. And in fact, our mission and purpose as Arizona Democrats has never been more important. And we have to remain unified to take advantage of these opportunities that we have. The opportunities that, quite frankly, fate has given us. We have an Arizona government in the hands of the other party, an economy that isn't recovering like it should, and a state budget in the red that will cause even more massive cuts to public education, to the protection of our children, and will keep those who are already down and out and in need of essential services further down and further out. This is why, even though we have just come off a bloody defeat, there are things we must do differently. We can all agree to that. But we cannot abandon our purpose and our mission as Arizona Democrats. We represent the majority of Arizona, and as I campaigned and I talked to independents and Republicans, we know they want common sense and pragmatic leaders, and we provided those opportunities and options to them. And they want leaders who are going to have solutions and not empty rhetoric. Every day, right now in the papers, there are letters to the editors about how Arizona is going in the wrong direction, and our newly elected leaders are taking us further in that wrong direction. Special interest groups elected them. And we need to make sure that they are held accountable. And we can do that together as a voice for the people. And that's the voice we have been and will continue to do. But we are at a very, very important crossroads where we need to elect party leaders who can take us in the right direction and work with all of us to create a plan. Ken Dowling, we said it already, a plan of action to return our state government to the people. You know, I've also read more than one article in the papers about how the people we represent and that we advocated for in the 2014 cycle didn't show up at the polls. Well, that can be frustrating, and it can be a reason to get resentful, it can be a reason to get angry, but let's put it in perspective. Yes, we represent the people who every day wake up against adversity and challenges and never give up. They're the ones who fight for their own futures and the futures of their children. They are the single working mothers who maybe on election day, most likely on election day, we know on election day, were working to put food on the table for their families. Like our college students who are struggling to go to school and have a job and pay their tuition. Like people of color who every day fight discrimination and hate to survive and to get ahead. Like women, young and old, Democrat, Republican, and independent, who maybe have forgotten that struggle for reproductive rights and freedoms. You know what our job is? It's to remind them, and it's to engage them, and it's to excite them and anger them and get them back at the polls. And we can do it. We can do it as a party. You know, it seems unfair that we candidates, we worked so hard, we were the smartest, we were the most competent, we were the right ones, and we still lost. That seems really unfair. But what do we tell our children every day? We tell our children, life is unfair. We as adults, we see the injustice every day, and we know it's out there. And we in this room know that our job, our test, our purpose for living is to address that injustice. And I know that when I meet my maker, and she will ask me this question, what did you do to fight and eradicate injustice? And isn't it? I know it is. That's our job on this earth. And my reason for you being here, and my reason for being here today, is to continue that fight every day. So, I want to look at the bright side right now. We've got our opportunities here to fight injustice. And we have a governor in this state and a government in this state that will be promoting injustice, I know. So I want to conclude my remarks and give us all a perspective about how our fight will never be done. It doesn't really matter who gets elected anywhere, anytime. Our fight will never be done to just make sure injustice everywhere is eradicated. And so I want to reflect on Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It was his holiday last Monday. There's an amazing movie called Selma that will remind us of that fight and that struggle. And I'm reminded of Congressman John Lewis. Remember, he came and he spoke at our Heritage Dinner? It was right before the election. And as I recall, he didn't give us Arizonans. He didn't cut us any slack. As I recall, he really let us know what it's like to face injustice. He talked about his struggles across the nation and his struggles as a young activist and leader in 1965 when he was brutally beaten by state troopers along with women, men, young, old, when they tried to peacefully assemble in march in Selma, Alabama. I just saw that movie, and I tell you, that scene was almost too much for me. I cried through the whole thing. So when we get frustrated about our situation in Arizona, think about the generations of African Americans who have lived through injustice. Think about our lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender brothers and sisters who have lived for generations in fear and in injustice. Think about all of the people that we have to have a voice for and advocate for. John Lewis said it best. As a young man, I tasted the bitter facts of segregation and racial discrimination, and I didn't like it. I used to ask my parents, my grandparents, why segregation? Why racial discrimination? And they would say, that's the way it is. Don't get in trouble. But when I heard the words of Dr. King, I knew then I could strike a blow against segregation and racial discrimination, and I decided to get in trouble. I decided to get in the way. But it was good trouble. It was necessary trouble. Democracy is not a state, it's an act. And Dr. King did say it best. He said it best when he said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So I invite you to do what you do best, to strike a blow against injustice. And I know you've already been in good trouble, and I know you're going to be in necessary trouble, and we can do this together, because we have to preserve the justice we have today by fighting every injustice in the world we know to exist. And we have the perfect battleground. And so let's do it together, and let's do it as a team, as Arizona Democrats.